not in the mountain itself. The slaves were gone without a trace, and the slavers and the guards were all dead. Great, horrible wounds they had, so people say. Strange, deep wounds, as if they'd been attacked by some kind of giant Uglandine. Uglandine? Nukurin had whistled derision. You'd have to be asleep to be caught by an Uglandine, or crippled. She stopped and surveyed the caravan. Not that asleep or crippled doesn't describe this caravan pretty well, she thought contemptuously. The caravan had stopped for the day, at mid-afternoon. The yurts had been erected in the middle of the trail, for no one had any desire to sleep amidst the acacia reeds, which grew lushly on either side. Acacia was altogether noisome, smelly and full of slugs. Kyakukin herself had not wanted to stop before nightfall brought cover from sharp Kiktu eyes, but the helots who hauled the slave cages were exhausted. Not surprisingly. Kyakukin had driven them mercilessly for days. The caravan master had attempted to convince the slavers and the guards to haul the cages, but of course they had refused. It was beneath their status, and they had seen no Kiktu. They were convinced there were none in the area. It was Kiktu territory, true, but everyone knew that the Kiktu were far to the west, organizing themselves and their tribal allies to meet the Utuku menace. Nukurin did not share their complacency. The Kiktu might be preoccupied, but she knew them well. The tribespeople guarded their territory closely, especially in the vicinity of the chiton. The area around the mountain had become a refuge for the Hunakaku, whom the Kiktu revered. Slavers would not normally even think of coming here. The Kiktu were ferocious warriors, and they bore a total hatred for slavers. Still, they were almost out of Kiktu lands. The expedition had been a great success, 4 slaves captured, when most expeditions nowadays considered a single Hunakaku worth the effort. Hunakaku slaves were much in demand in the great prevalates of the south. Most labor was done by helots or Gukoi slaves, but it was still a mark of prestige to possess a Hunakaku. The most powerful rulers even ate the flesh of the creatures, on occasion, claiming it to be the world's greatest delicacy. The world is full of evil, thought Nukurin. Evil without end. I think it must have always been so, despite what the stinking priests say, and I am certain it will never change. Gazing upon the caravan, she emitted a soft whistle of contempt. She wasn't sure what she found more offensive, the slovenliness of the guards or the brutality of the slavers. She was a mercenary herself now, of course. Had been for many 80 weeks, ever since she and Dowifa fled Shakatulubak. But she still had the training and the attitudes of an elite warrior, and she had nothing but scorn for the other mercenaries. She had made no pretense how she felt about them. They resented her deeply, but naturally they did nothing, except, of this she had no doubt, whispered lurid and disgusting remarks to each other concerning Nukurin and Dowifa. A loud hooting from further down the caravan line drew her attention. A half-aid of mercenaries were clustered about one of the cages, whistling with laughter. She moved toward them. As she drew near, she saw that one of the slavers was amusing herself by tormenting the Hunakaku in the cage with a blowpipe. The slaver was shooting practice darts at the mantle of the pitiful creature, who was cowering against the far side of the cage, hooting loudly, her mantle brown with misery. The 4 mercenaries apparently found the sight of the sub-Gukoi's pathetic attempts to fend off the darts vastly amusing. The darts were not deadly, of course. The blunted tips could do no more than lightly score the thick mantle of the Hunakaku, and the slaver was being careful not to shoot at the easily damaged eyes. But the darts were painful, and the Hunakaku were by nature timid and easily frightened. The gratuitous cruelty of the scene caused a sudden rage to swell within Nukurin. She shoved aside the mercenary before her. The mercenary began to protest angrily. Then, seeing who it was who had pushed her, she fell silent. Ochre uncertainty rippled along the mercenary's mantle, shadowed by pink undertones of anxiety. Nukurin ignored the mercenary altogether and advanced upon the slaver. Feeling her presence, the slaver left off her amusement and glanced back and up, for Nukurin was a huge Gukoi. At the sight of the warrior looming above her, the green pleasure tones in the slaver's mantle were instantly replaced.